Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. What we're going to be talking about today are 15 mistakes that I think you guys should avoid when you're learning how to code. Now, I took some time and I basically came up with some mistakes that I've made, some mistakes that I've heard from you guys, in the comments. Now, what I would recommend is, watch the video, take some notes. Maybe you guys have made some of these mistakes in the past and realize, it's a habit, or if you haven't in the future, just something to take note of and not do yourself in the future, right? Learn from my mistakes, don't make them yourself. So if you're new to the channel, my name is John Vine. What we do here is we talk about software engineering. If you guys want to become full-time software developers, hit the subscribe button. What we do here is I try to use my experience to help you guys achieve your goals. If you like the content, feel free to like the video. I think right now are only around 90% of you guys are actually subscribed, so a sub would actually help the channel a lot. And let's get right back into the video. So the first mistake that I see people make, and this is definitely a mistake that I've made, is that people don't spend a lot of time properly learning how to debug, right? I know that when I was learning how to code and I was in school that I would always try to, half-ass it and not use a lot of really good tools that are available and kind of just resort to, printing different things. And really, it was kind of the easiest solution, and it did work. It did give me the right solution most of the time, and it did show me where the bug was by printing the values of different variables. There was definitely a lot of different things that I could have used, definitely a lot of different tools, and using things like breakpoints, like printing different tools. There's things like ngrok online that you can use. And a lot of these different debugging tools really make your life a lot easier. And what you have to realize is that when you're actually going to be working as a full-time software developer, debugging is actually going to be a huge part of your job, right? Because when there's a bug in your code, which happens a lot of the time, then you have to find the solution. And how do you do that? By actually debugging. So, don't think that it's not important. We were definitely taught that it was important, but it seemed like something that I was lazy at. It seemed like something, complicated that I was lazy at myself. So don't make the same mistake I did, because it can definitely make your life a lot easier. And to be completely honest, it's not that hard. So guys, it's definitely very important to debug, arguably as important as coding. So don't make the same mistakes that I did. Another mistake that a lot of people make when they're learning how to code, right? If you're, working on some sort of project and you run into a certain problem, or you want to implement a certain feature, whatever it is, and you go online, right? You look up a question on Google, you find some code online, and then you copy it, you put it in your side project, and then it works, right? And then you're like, okay, you just change some names, change some variable names, and then it works, right? So what you've done is just copy some code and make it work with yours, and then it works. But what you think you did is that you actually coded a solution, but really what you've done is you just copied some code online and made some small changes, right? So I understand that this is kind of, very tempting because, you really want to complete your project or whatever task you're working on, but think about the real goal you have, right? The goal you have is to learn how to code, not to complete this project. This project is just a way to, achieve your goal. So is it really worth it just copying the code, or taking some time, trying out some solutions by yourself, seeing if you can get it to work on your own first? That's definitely something that I would recommend instead. You look at colleges and there's definitely a reason why plagiarizing is a thing, because it definitely impedes your learning. So what I would recommend is not to, do this, maybe, as a last resort or something, but definitely try your own solution first. Maybe get something that, you built by yourself and you thought of by yourself working first, and then maybe you can get that to work, and then maybe a more optimal solution you can copy online. But don't just take stuff and put it in and then, trick yourself into thinking that you're actually learning, right? The third, and one of the most common mistakes that I see people make, is that they try to take on too much too fast when they start learning how to code, right? A lot of people just, start learning how to code. They take a course on, a basic introductory course. They know what arrays are, they know what for loops are, and then boom, they want to build Facebook. And then, they start, and quickly, it becomes apparent that you really can't build this massive product right by yourself, especially because one, you're one person. Two, you barely know how to code, right? You just started learning. There's a lot of time and money spent to, build these massive companies. And if you have your goal to learn how to code is the first thing you want to do is build $1 million company. All this is going to do is it's going to make you fail, and then it's going to discourage you, right? What you want to do is start small, build some very small project. And when I'm talking small, I mean super small, literally the most basic app you can think of. And then start there, and then grow slowly. Because when you finish that first project, guys, you're gonna see that, okay, wow, I can actually do this. You're gonna have this breakthrough, I'm telling you, and then you're gonna get a lot more confident, and then you're gonna be able to tackle those bigger projects. But if you start with the big projects, it's a guaranteed way to kind of quit early. You know what I mean? Don't make that mistake. The fourth mistake that I see a lot of people make, and this is one I've talked about on my channel, so much, is that people just take courses, they buy books, they watch YouTube videos, and they absorb all this knowledge. They think that they're learning so much, and that when they go to an interview, what they're going to ask them is they're going to be like, how many books did you read? They're going to say, I've read 100 books, and they're going to be like, okay, you're hired, right? That's really not how it works. It's not the quantity of stuff that you absorb. It's not the amount of courses you've taken or the amount of money you spent on courses. It's actually how much time you've spent implementing what you've learned, and like building projects, working on different things, but basically using what you've learned in these courses and books and taking it and actually implementing it and making it into a project. That's the best way to learn how to code. I've talked about it before, guys. As I said, project-based learning, I think it's the best way to learn how to code. I think actually, writing down code is way better than just writing notes and watching videos any day of the week. So the sooner you can do that, the more often you can do that. I would recommend to do it every single day if you can. But you really want to be applying and actually coding. The more comfortable you can get with the keyboard, the more practice you're going to get, the more comfortable you're going to feel with the language, and just over time you're going to realize your progress is so much faster because you're consistently applying what you're learning. The next mistake I see a lot of people make is you don't really study with a clear goal. A lot of people, when they sit down to study, they kind of don't really have a plan of what they're about to do, right? If you're working on a project, for example, like you have a side project that you're working on that you want to add to your resume, and if you're sitting down and you're learning and you want to work on this project, what I would recommend is to have like a list of tasks before you actually start coding. Have a list of tasks prepared. Similar to how real companies work. They have a real list of tasks they have to complete before they actually start working on them, right? So what you want to do is you want to have a list of tasks ready before you start working. Or if you're studying a course, you want to have the lectures ready, you want to have the notebook ready, but you really want to be prepared for what you're about to learn. So you want to have a goal in mind, right? You don't really want to just sit down and then be like, okay, what course are we doing today, guys? Just sit down and be like, this course, boom, let's do this. You really want to have a plan. Be as methodical as you can be. Try to plan everything you can, and that'll really increase your chances of success. And this leads very well into my next topic, which is not actually having a plan or a study schedule, more long-term basically. The last point was short-term, so like, the actual study session. But what I'm talking about right now is having a plan for the long-term. And what I'm talking about is, planning every month, planning every week what you're gonna work on, even guys down to every day, and sometimes down to like, what you're gonna do every hour. I'm talking about like if you have a very important schedule, or rather not important, but very busy schedule, and you have work and then you have like family responsibilities, you really wanna be able to schedule a certain amount of time during the day for you to actually be studying, right? You want to be able to say, for example, 7 to 8 p.m., that's when I'm going to be studying, and then 8 to 9, I'm going to be coding during this time so no one bother me. You really want to have this kind of plan, right? It really helps you, one, stay accountable, and two, you're going to be able to look back and see how much progress you've actually made. Definitely for myself, when I see that, okay, I plan this week I'm going to be working on this, and then I set myself deadlines. So say, at the end of every week, you're going to have a side project done, or say, I want to have this project done in 3 weeks. You want to treat it kind of like a school curriculum, because you want to have your own deadlines, you want to have everything planned, and then you're going to know what to do. It'll kind of become autopilot. Whereas if you're just waking up and kind of you don't really have a plan, you just get to it when you get to it, you're going to be a lot less disciplined, and you're going to realize that over time, your progress isn't nearly as much as you could have done if you were disciplined, if you were planned, and if you knew, everything that was going on. I'm looking at my notes of mistakes people make, like that I made, and a huge mistake that a lot of people make is that they don't know what language to pick, and then they spend so much time picking a language thinking that it matters. It does not, guys. Thinking your language matters is like a huge mistake you can make. You're just learning how to code. Whichever language you learn does not matter, because you're just learning the foundations right now. You have to learn the very basic concepts like arrays, like variables, like functions, right? And to learn these basic concepts, it doesn't really matter what language you use. So just pick any language and start to learn these concepts. And the beautiful things about these concepts is that they transfer between languages, so it really doesn't matter. And then you can switch languages whenever you want. And people think that when they learn one language, they're kind of constrained to it for the rest of their career, which couldn't be further from the truth. Oftentimes you're learning new languages and you're using different ones as well. So don't be scared of that. Don't think it's that big of a deal. Just pick a language, and get to work. And in contrast, a lot of people also start off with too many languages. People want to, get their hands dirty and learn a ton of different languages from the get-go. And I would also say that this is a very bad idea as well, because you really don't want to confuse yourself with the syntax of all these different languages. It's just going to get in the way. It's just going to confuse you when you're coding. You're going to be working with JavaScript, and you're going to have the syntax of like 4 different languages in your head. You're not going to remember which one it is. It's going to slow your progress. And you really just want to pick one and just start, learning it and start getting better with it, because the more comfortable you are with the language, the easier it's going to make for you to learn the really important stuff, which is all the basic concepts and the foundations behind it, and all the computer science, right? The actual syntax isn't that important as understanding what the code does, when to use it, how it works, and all that kind of stuff. Another massive mistake I see people make, and it's very easy to see that like people could not be aware of this, especially if you're just learning how to code and you don't know all the resources available to you, is that people don't really use documentation when they're learning how to code, right? Guys, the odds are, if you're using some sort of, even any language, any third-party API, anything really like open source, if you are having any issues with it while you're coding, there's probably a documentation online made by the people who created whatever this thing is that you're using that'll probably answer your question. There's resources like this everywhere, and for like a ton of different services, ton of different languages, text frameworks, whatever you want to call them. And there's so much documentation online, guys, that if you have a problem, all you have to do is look for the solution. It is out there. And a lot of people really aren't aware, especially beginners that are just learning how to code. So guys, if you're using something and you're having trouble, you're confused and you want kind of a tutorial, look up the documentation. Because at the very least, guys, if there's nothing in the documentation, then someone's asked it on Stack Overflow, or there's some kind of forum post about it. So there's a lot of resources online that you should definitely take advantage of. And one huge mistake that I was definitely guilty of when I was learning how to code, and sometimes even now, is that I would wait to push code, I would wait to submit stuff until it was perfect. So what I'm talking about is even working on a project of my own, I would try to make it perfect before pushing code or doing anything like that, because I really wanted it to be the perfect thing. I wanted it to work perfectly. I wanted it to pass all these different edge cases. I wanted it to look super nice and work as efficiently as possible. But one of the most important things you have to do when you're just learning how to code is that you just have to get things to work, and don't really focus on making it perfect. Don't really focus on making something look nice when you could be focusing on just getting it to work and getting it to complete its basic functionality. Don't be afraid to push some code if it's not perfect, if it might not be as optimal as possible, because what your main goal is to get it working, and then as you get better, you'll be focusing on these different tasks and making it look nice and having a more complete product. But when you're a beginner, guys, it doesn't really matter as much. What matters is just getting it to work, and then you can build from there. And as we're getting into the later parts of the video, I have to talk about this, right? Like a lot of people talk about this topic, and it's imposter syndrome, right? It's kind of hard to categorize it as a mistake because it's inevitable. Like, it's just kind of human nature, when you're learning something new, you kind of think you're bad at it, and then because coding is can be pretty tough at times, then you're going to think that you're not good enough for it. But just, guys, what you have to understand is you're not the only one that's going through this. You're not the first, you're not the last. And that as long as you just keep trying and, putting in the effort, there's no reason why, you can't succeed and you can't learn how to code, right? I've gone through this. A lot of people go through this. A lot of people go through it every day. Even people that are extremely experienced still go through imposter syndrome. So, it really isn't something that you can take away. It's just a reality of just how people feel sometimes. So, you just have to keep pushing, and you'll succeed. Now, one of the things that I definitely learned later on in my career is the value of a mentor. I actually, I had my first mentor, near the end of my university degree, at one of my internships, and it was really a great learning experience for me. It offered me someone who I could learn from. And what I would recommend to a lot of, beginners is to, don't just try to take this on by yourself. Don't make the mistake of thinking this is like a solo journey that just you have to be on by yourself. Don't be shy to collaborate with other people. There's a lot of open source projects online that people are constantly working on, and a great way to get better at coding is to collaborate with them on different projects. It'll make you a lot better at communicating, at coding, at pushing code using Git, all that kind of stuff. And also don't be afraid to seek out guidance. If you're a student or if you work right now with someone who's in coding and you want to get into the software development, don't be afraid to ask them for help as well. Basically what I'm saying is that oftentimes I didn't seek out help when I should have, and seeking out help, it could definitely be very useful, especially if you're trying to learn how to code. Software engineering is a lot of collaboration, so the more you can collaborate, the better. And also, sometimes you might think that your code is the best, and it's really important to, take a look at other people's codes, because it gives you a different perspective and lets you know how other people would have done different solutions. And also, honestly, code review is a pretty big part of coding. So by, looking at other people's code, you'll also kind of be practicing code review. So definitely only good things come with collaborating with others. And guys, one of the biggest things that can definitely, hinder your growth is to be scared to try new things and to be scared to take a risk, right? You're going to think you're going to break something, you think you're going to break it in production, and it's going to be your fault. But sometimes you're gonna have to try these new kind of riskier things to see if they work, because it could have great rewards. And one of the things about software engineering is that you constantly want to be trying new things. That's one of the things that make it so much fun. There's always new things being built for that reason. There's always things being improved on, and if you're not trying new things, you're going to be missing the chance to innovate and kind of adapt to changing technologies, to changing frameworks. So definitely don't be scared to take risks and break things. It's going to happen, but that's only a sign of progress. Now, another thing that's going to happen when you're learning how to code is eventually, things might start off kind of simple, but eventually things are going to get pretty complicated and pretty fast. And then sooner or later, you're going to run into different problems, and it's going to get quite frustrating. But what you have to realize is that you don't get frustrated when you're running into these issues. If you take it in a negative way, then it's only going to make you more frustrated, it's going to make you more upset, and you're not going to be able to think as rationally. One of the things I've learned is just, if you're running into issues, do your best to treat it as a challenge, and then you're going to be more motivated to complete the task, and your chance of success is going to be, significantly higher. I realized that, when I treat stuff in a different mindset, I definitely succeed more often. And finally, guys, one of the things that I've realized, and one of the mistakes that I definitely made, when I was learning how to code, is that when I would work on different projects or challenges, and I would run into a certain problem, I would kind of make one solution in my head and then try to make that solution be the solution. And I'd kind of trap myself in a box where I was only trying things that are in this box of this solution. But one of the things that you have to learn sometimes is you have to step back, consider that, okay, the solution I was working on thus far isn't the one. Go back to the drawing board and kind of, look at it from a different perspective. And guys, this is genuinely, doing this has saved me so many times. It saved my ass so many times. And, I kind of was stuck in a problem for hours, took a step back, maybe took a break, and then tried it from a different angle, and then found the right solution. And I know it kind of seems super straightforward. And, yeah, obviously, why wouldn't you do that? But myself personally, so many times I would get stuck with a certain solution, or get stuck with one kind of angle, and that would really impede me and really, not let me see the right solution. So definitely don't try to make this mistake, guys. Try different solutions, try different things, and it'll definitely work out for you. So guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video. These are some mistakes that I've made and some mistakes that I've, gathered through you guys and just on the internet. So I hope this video serves as, valuable knowledge and valuable information for you. If you like the content, feel free to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Like I said, 90% of you guys aren't subbed right now, so a sub would definitely help. And let me know what you guys think down below, guys. Leave a comment down below if there's anything you agree or disagree with and you just want to join the conversation. As always, guys, take it easy and enjoy your day.